Well, from December the 12th, Russia will suspend its participation in a treaty that limits the deployment of heavy conventional weapons in Europe. The treaty, signed in 1990, was designed to ease East-West tensions, but President Putin has delivered on his threat to temporarily pull out of the pact in protest over US plans to build a missile defense system in Eastern Europe. And he's made the move just 2 days ahead of Russia's parliamentary elections. Let's get more from Al Jazeera's Laurence, who's in Moscow. Laurence.
Yes, hi David, welcome again to the Kremlin. We're trying to find out a bit more really about what Vladimir Putin's all about before these elections, since the elections have been primarily designed really to keep him in power. That's the eternal flame, the monuments outside the Kremlin to the Russian war dead. And along this wall of the Kremlin you can see these plaques to what the Soviets called hero cities, which stood up against the Nazis. That's Kiev in Ukraine, here's Minsk, the capital of Belarus. But here's a really interesting one, the next one along the line, used until quite recently to say Volgograd, which is a big city in southern Russia. But Vladimir Putin then had the name changed back to its Second World War name, Stalingrad. The message then from Vladimir Putin to the Russian people that under his leadership a little bit of Stalin is coming back to life. Volgograd may not be a name which resonates in the outside world, but if you call it Stalingrad instead, it conjures up images of the worst horrors of the Second World War. Everyone lost someone, and most people lost everything. But the city would not die, and they fought the Germans back. And most incredible of all, they still say now that they did it for Joseph Stalin.
It was for our history, for our life, and of course for Stalin. This is not a fantasy, especially when a person felt he was going to die and he went towards their machine guns. He said for the homeland, for Stalin. These are the two words which are etched in our history. Our generation remembers these words and will die with this memory.
There may be no great war now to galvanize this country, but nonetheless in the collective mindset, Mother Russia is on the attack once again.
Russia's relationship with Joseph Stalin has always been really strange, a mixture of fear and respect really, nothing like the open hostility or anger towards him that you might expect. And the fact is that Stalin never really went away in the way that, for example, Hitler did in Germany, and certainly in Vladimir Putin's Russia, some of the things about Stalin, his name and what he stood for, have quietly been revived.
Listen, for instance, to how the war veterans at the museum who fought so passionately for Stalin have watched with satisfaction at how Putin's presidency has evolved.
Comrade President, are you going to fulfill the words you said about the dictatorship of the law? I asked him this question, and he told me, yes, there will be. Now, 3 or 4 years have passed, and I'm very satisfied that I've asked him a serious question, and I see that his promise has been fulfilled by him and by Parliament.
Or listen to their grandchildren who so respectfully carry on the traditions at the eternal flame. Too young to vote, they already know that Vladimir Putin is the only modern leader with Stalin's strength of character.
I think while Putin has been in power, many things have improved in our country and in our city. I think it will be better if he will stay in power. People always listen to the strongest. They will not obey anyone who cannot stand up for his point of view.
At this time of year, they like to reenact the great fight back against the Nazis. The fact that Stalin sent hundreds of thousands of Russians to the Gulag seems hardly to matter, but they believe absolutely that Stalin won World War II and made Russia great again, just like Vladimir Putin is doing now.
At this moment we don't have a person who can lead the people, except for Putin. In those times, people couldn't be led by anyone else but Stalin. They had no choice in a way. This is what Russians are like. They need a leader to unite behind.
The city once known as Stalingrad hasn't gained from many of the material benefits which have made Moscow so rich. But Putin has offered pride, which is priceless. One recent opinion poll asked the people of Volgograd to choose the Russian leader who they regarded as the strongest ever. Putin came first, Stalin came second.